The game that started the FNAF franchise, inside a family restaurant full of friendly and cheerful animatronics. However, playing this game you never get to see how the place is in the light of day, but instead how terrifying it can be in the dark of the night. You play as a night guard checking the cameras from 12 AM to 6 AM. Whether you reach 6 AM is another thing, since these animatronics that were used for entertainment are now moving around the restaurant on their own in an attempt to kill you. While I won't be going too in-depth on the details or theories for the game, I will discuss the gameplay aspect of the game and some story details revealed. Now on to the night guard survival. There are what appears to be initially 5 nights, where they progressively get harder as you survive through each one. Each night starts at 12 AM and ends at 6 AM. While this is what is shown in-game, in real time, 12 AM lasts a minute and 30 seconds, and 1 AM and beyond each lasts a minute and 29 seconds. Overall, each night lasts 8 minutes and 55 seconds, almost 9 minutes. Night 1 acts as an introduction to the game, where the phone guy gives a long talk about the restaurant, the animatronics roaming around the facility, and some scary details about what would happen if the animatronics do catch you. The animatronics one has to worry about are Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, and Foxy. Bonnie and Chica will be most active initially in the early nights, where Bonnie will try to get through the left door and Chica on the right door. Both of them do move around back and forth through the rooms. However, if they are close by, I would heavily recommend to let the appropriate side if one or both disappear from cameras as a precaution. The doors are the only defense offered and will be used frequently to prevent any animatronic from getting inside. However, leaving the doors closed too long may cause some drawbacks to power usage. Power is the most important part one has to worry about. There is at least 1 bar of power always being used, and more bars appearing depending on how many things are being used. If there is a door closed, there are now 2 bars. If a door is closed and the camera is in use, 3 bars of power are being used. The more bars there are, the faster the power goes. As such, keeping an eye on the usage meter and power left as the night progresses is crucial to surviving against these machines. If the power goes out, Freddy's face will light up in the dark and proceed to play a snippet or full jingle of a song called Toreador March before it becomes completely unseeable, with seconds left before Freddy gets you. At least if the power is out, there is still a chance of surviving until 6 AM if it's already been 5 AM for quite a while. Back to the other 2 animatronics. Foxy is interesting in that you can see it physically running through the hallway in Camp 2A once it makes an attempt for the night guard's life. This requires some quick door reactions and can be quite hectic if pressing or clicking on the wrong button. Every time Foxy runs into the door, he drains some power. This increases each time he continues to hit the door over the course of the night, which can make the night unplayable if he suddenly drains 20% of the remaining power. In order to prevent Foxy from ever leaving Pirate Cove, the camera has to be open. This prevents Foxy from advancing to the next stage, whether he is about to leave the cove or the curtains are still fully closed. It is not necessary to put the camera on the cove, all that is needed is just opening up the cams on any camera desired. Freddy, on the other hand, also works in a unique way in that he will go to camera 4B and continuously look at the camera. If this camera is not checked for quite some time and Freddy disappears from the view, most likely he is in the office with you and will kill you very soon. There's also one more enemy that will rarely, if ever, pop up during gameplay: Golden Freddy. There are low chances of him popping up in your security room right in front of you, and if you do absolutely nothing for quite a bit of time, you will get jump scared and get back into the title screen. The way to survive this and make him go away is just to open back up the cameras and ta-da, he's gone. With this being the main gameplay loop, all that has to be done is close the right doors, check the right cameras, and occasionally check your sides with the lights in case there's an animatronic waiting there. Pretty easy at first, but later nights do become increasingly difficult. At first, there appears to be only 5 nights, and after surviving the 5th one leads you to getting 1 star and unlocking another option on the main title screen called 6th Night. This night is significantly harder than the 5th night and will have you scraping by with little power by the end of it. After beating this new night, the title screen once again gets updated to have 2 stars, now with an option called Custom Night. And here you can see the AI of each animatronic to be from 0 to 20, where 0 to 2 is easy, 3 to 6 is medium, 7 to 12 is hard, and 13 to 20 is extreme difficulty. Of course, the 7-8 would be setting all 4 animatronics at 20, making it 420 mode. This sets it up to be the hardest night of them all, where you have to strategize to survive against some quite terrifying and fast-moving animatronics. What seems to have worked for me was moving my camera to 4B right at the start of the night and constantly really quickly check it. This will keep both Foxy and Freddy at bay from attacking, which will be helpful. Then I regularly light up the left doorway to check if Bonnie is there, and if he is, just close the door. After some time where there's been a bit, or you hear walking away, then check with the light, and if no outline of him is there, open it up again. Now to deal with Chica, she has to go through the same camera as Freddy on 4B, and when that happens, he will show up there. Whenever she no longer shows up on the camera, then you can check the right side and see if she is there, which most likely she is, and close the door. Check soon after with the light, and if no Chica outline, open it back up. This strategy, all it requires is constant camera checking and mainly focusing on the left side of the security office to see if Bonnie is there. Occasionally, you may have to close both doors in the room. However, it should be opened up fast as Bonnie and Chica tend to come and go quickly. With hopefully some power left, you will have survived the night. There is some curiosity, however, as you find out after the 7th night that this security guy got fired for apparently tampering with the animatronics. General unprofessionalism and odor. Weird last reason there. Some ponder begins as why would you continue to work here knowing these machines are trying to kill you? The story of the game, other than surviving the dreadful nights, involves this guy on the phone giving you the run of what goes down during the night shift and what you should be wary about. He brings up how he has to read a legal thing to you about how Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person, and kinda indicates there might be a couple of deaths that may have occurred based on what he said. He then goes on to talk about the animatronics, an incident that happened in 1987 referred to as the Bite of 87, where a person lost their frontal lobe. So yeah, these animatronics are quite dangerous, and begins disclosing safety concerns that you, the night guard, should be aware of. From the phone guy's own perspective, he believes that animatronics see you as a metal endoskeleton without his costume, therefore they will force you into a Freddy Fazbear suit, and yeah, I will let him explain why that is the worst thing that can happen in the restaurant.
They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if the suits themselves weren't filled with cross beams, wires, and animatronic devices, especially around the facial area. So you can imagine how having your head forcefully pressed inside one of those could cause a bit of discomfort and death. The only parts of you that would likely see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth when they pop out the front of the mask.
I will say the first night he does talk quite a bit and will get shorter and shorter as the nights go on. The phone guy brings up some game mechanics and hints at how to survive the night and what to be aware of when playing, such as Freddy being more active in the dark, the blind spots on your right and left side of the security room, and using the lights to check if an animatronic is right there, and how Foxy begins to move due to camera being off for a long period of time. Keep in mind he is working the night shift as well from his end during these recorded calls that the phone guy is sending to you, so he is in the same predicament as you were. Or currently are, I should say. Unfortunately, when he goes on talking about playing dead, and you remember him saying in the first night recording that it was last week there, you would hope that he survived his last week and will go on talking each night about his endeavor throughout it, right? Well, night 4 comes around and you start hearing some concerning things happening on his end, like him talking with great worry, banging noises, and a chime that is never a good sign.
I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm going to try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
With the call ending with a screech from an animatronic into static, that very well means the death of the phone guy. On night 5, this phone recording is just animatronics messing around and speaking in a weird monstrous voice with some occasional screeches. After surviving night 5, you finally get your paycheck of $120 worth, with your name being revealed as Mike Smith. You get an additional 50 cents worth of overtime for doing the 6th night if you continue on. Funnily enough, you don't get paid more for the 7th night, but in fact get fired, so I guess the company doesn't value the security guard as much as they indicated for these memorandums on the previous paychecks. There is additional background lore found in the game through a room found in camera 4B. In the corner of the East Hall, there is rules per safety sign that just lists things like don't run, don't yell, don't scream, and etc. In this same room where the sign is, there is a 1 in 25 chance of the sign being replaced by one of 4 newspaper clippings involving the missing children incident. If you happen to read all 4 of them, it tells a sad and dark story of how 5 children were lured into a back room and killed. It is presumed the man responsible for the killings had dressed as a cartoon mascot to lure the kids into that room. This incident then leads to the eventual closing of the pizzeria years later. However, an interesting thing to note is that the animatronics appear to have blood and mucus around the eyes and mouths from the comments made by parents to the police. Put 2 and 2 together, and the guy that killed these kids most likely stuffed their bodies into the animatronic suits. With how these animatronics act, it is presumed they are possessed by the 5 children as a result of all this, and are the ones actively trying to kill you in the security room. Unfortunately, there isn't any more information on what happened to the killer or the bite of 87, at least in this game. With the sound effects and jump scares, this game can get pretty scary, when playing alone in the dark at least. I definitely love the camera aspect and you're looking for any moving animatronics, how empty or full the stage is, Foxy slowly making his move to run at you, and the animatronics looking at the cameras. Also at times there are some changes to the room you are looking at throughout the camera. Though this may be missed, and some of these minor changes will happen very rarely. I do recommend giving this game a chance if you are into horror games and want a bit of a shorter game. The controls or gameplay aspects are not difficult, and the hardest nights can be beaten with a bit of patience and strategy. I did say this game is widely available on tons of platforms, whether console, PC, or mobile phones. The only downside of this game is replayability will suffer since you know what is coming, how the animatronics work, and may even get accustomed to the jump scares. If you're about to get jump scared and the door cannot be closed anymore in the security room, just close the game and restart, because sometimes even knowing a jump scare is coming ain't enough to not react like a scaredy cat to it. This is also the start of many other FNAF games, and if you're gonna play them all, the first is a good one to start with. If you want to, like and subscribe. Without further ado, I leave y'all to it.